Hey, so welcome back to another interview in my Hope series. And I hope you've been enjoying the series so far. I know I've been getting a ton of value. I've been hearing from you in the comments below how much value that you're getting from this. And so here's another great one. So we're here early in the year. And if you've been doing your goal setting for 2021, I know like last year was kind of crazy and wonky for some of us, but you're really going to step into 2021 to make it your best year ever. That's what we're going to be talking about today, how you can achieve any dream with the awesome Dave Hurst. So Dave Hurst is the author of Achieve Any Dream platform, which is all about empowerment. His dream is to create a platform that touches millions of people's lives to not only help them achieve their goals and dreams, but feel empowered, free, and in control of their life and emotions. Since a teenager playing ice hockey as Goldie, he quickly realized the power of mindset was the number one essential skill to be the best that he could be. And shortly after saw dramatic change and shifted every area of his life. It opened doors for him and opportunities, connections, and it gave him the resilience to deal with anything. It is his mission to share the skills and tools, create a platform for anyone to grow, connect more authentically with others, and most importantly, find their purpose. He has launched a given platform with a beautiful mission to grow, connect, and give. And I can't think of a more powerful mission. Welcome, Dave. I'm so excited that you're here.
Aprille, thank you so much. I'm not used to intros, so that was unbelievable. That was my first experience of an intro, so I love that. Yeah.
Well,
I said to
great.
you earlier, your energy is unbelievable, so thank you.
Oh yeah, fabulous, fabulous. And you're unbelievable. I want to hear how you got started. Like what brought you here to this journey today?
Yeah, it's been a really long journey. I do remember being a teenager, being super, super determined. My mom and dad would always be like, he doesn't give up on anything. I was playing with my toy cars as a kid, and I'd be there for hours until they were perfectly arranged. But it's just so driven and determined, and I always have been. And like you mentioned, I remember in hockey, that was really a breakthrough for me. I'll try and keep the story as short as I can, but I was playing kind of street hockey and roller hockey, and then I moved into ice hockey just randomly. And I always remember getting this magazine. I was like, I was determined to be the best goalie I could be. And I was flicking through this magazine on technique of how to be a good goalie. And in the middle of that small little magazine I used to get, there was a page about mindset and confidence. And that I remember that was probably the first time I've ever really experienced that. And combined with, I remember a friend at that time who played on our team. He became a bit of a mentor to me. He was 10 years older, and he was saying, like, I was the guy that like, no, I'm not, I'm useless at hockey. Like, I'm beating myself up confidence wise, like trying to hide in the corner, trying to fade away in the background kind of thing. And then he kind of taught me how to build up this inner confidence. I've always had this kind of inner confidence, not allowed, out there confidence, and it feels like a rock inside me. And I've kind of built that up over the years, and it went from that ice hockey magazine into discovering this book about sports psychology, which I think was called In Pursuit of Excellence, like way back in the day. And I read through that whole book, and I was mesmerized. And it was all about sports psychology and how could I be the best goalie because of this. And it was probably only a few months later, I started to notice how I was turning up at hockey was now helping me in every single area of my life, like work and, girlfriends back in the day and all sorts. Like everything began to shift. And that was, a long time ago now. I'm 42 now. So over those 25 years, I realized like I keep using it for every area of life. And then I became determined to keep exploring this. And then eventually it turned into, okay, now I'm going to write an app around goals and challenges. And so that kind of shifts onto the second part of the story, is where I started writing this app called GoalFire. And originally it was called Challenge Me. So it's meant to be the social media platform I'm not a big fan of social media sometimes. There's good and bad, right? But it was meant to be a social media platform for just complete good, to motivate people and challenge people to things. And so I started building that. And then I got married, like beautiful, beautiful marriage. And then a few years later, we actually broke up. And of course, that was a real tough time. We'll probably talk about that at a different part of the interview. But what was amazing is that was my first massive, massive test. I mean, I've had a few challenges before, but that was the big test of, okay, like I've kind of learned all this stuff for years and years. Now it's my time to actually see if it would get me through it. And it was incredible kind of going through that process and learning how to be resilient and rebound. And it shocked myself, like how quickly, like the mindset kind of piece of it could actually get you through a really, really tough situation. And then, so I kind of forgot my point. Oh yeah, sorry. The platform that used to be Challenge Me then turned into GoalFire, which was really interesting because it now became not just goals and challenges, but adding this big like mindset and emotional intelligence piece into what I was building. And so I learned that piece literally from going through the difficult crap and the pain. So the pain actually just gave me a whole new world and a whole new kind of doors, opportunities, and it enabled me to then create this platform, GoalFire. So I'll stop there before I keep going.
No, that's great. And I think a lot of times, what our pain and coming on the other side of that is what helps us be able to help others. And something else you said earlier, which I found fascinating, was like, you were playing hockey, which is sport, and the way you were able to use your mindset to build confidence to become a better player kind of weaved into other areas of your life. And it's so funny because, I think we all at some point have imposter syndrome, and sometimes I can be in my feelings and I'm like crying to my husband, like, oh, why is it so hard? And how come you blah, 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 blah. And he likes to play basketball. Yep. And his confidence in him playing, like, he doesn't claim to be the best or anything, but he says he shoots every shot and he knows it's going to go in, whether it makes it or not. And it's like, how can I get confidence like that? So I might need to take up some kind of sport.
I think sport's incredible. Yeah, I think sport has a habit of naturally then spreading to other areas of your life. And of course, the fitness as well keeps you healthy along the way with the mindset.
Yeah, there's got to be something into that, which is why they always encourage kids in school to do some form of sport. So I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm 40, so I don't know, but we'll see.
For sure. Yeah, I love sport.
Yeah. Okay. So you're going to be talking about how to actually step into the courage to achieve any dream. Particularly 2021. I think this is very timely. So how do we actually do that?
Yeah, well, you nailed the big word for me is courage. That's probably the biggest word of the platform. That's the core of the platform. And so courage to me, the funny thing is, and I have it on the pillow here. So the courage, I almost have the definition on the pillow, and we didn't organize this. So the ability to do something that frightens you. So, I've been chatting to a few friends the last few days about this very thing, because they're stepping into some of the most courageous things that they've ever done right now. And we're surrounded by these incredible people, even online, and it all counts, and they're spreading their wings and doing things they've never done before. And the one common thing that always comes up and underlies everything is the fear. And the thing is, I don't believe the fear is ever going to go away. And in fact, I was chatting to my friend that I think if the fear is not even there in what you're trying to achieve, whether your entrepreneurial journey or whatever, if the fear isn't there, I think there's a problem. Like, I think we're not aiming big enough and we're not being bold enough if the fear isn't there. So for me, it's very much kind of flipping the script on fear, which is just something I've been kind of working on the last few days and recording stuff around this subject. and knowing the fear is going to be with you. One of the groups recently talked about fear being in the passenger seat of the car, and you're driving, right? So normally fear controls us and takes over our mind and our thoughts. So it's about flipping the script and knowing the fear's there, but now the fear is our ally, our buddy, and we're going to take it with us. And that's the courage, really. That's the big piece.
Yeah, if there's no fear, you're not growing. So yeah, I love
Absolutely,
that.
yeah.
I love that. And
I think
so
every incredible thing that's ever happened in the world, every successful movement and big change has always involved a massive amount of fear and tension and courage.
yeah, definitely. So what would you say um are the mindset secrets to stepping into this empowerment to, because I mean, I believe it probably starts with a decision. So you have to
Yeah.
decide that there's something that you want.
Yeah.
But do people get stuck there? I mean, I doubt they just, go with it. So are there any secrets to the mindset there?
Yeah. So it's funny. I kind of, I worked out, well, I looked up this emotional consciousness chart, which I'm not going to talk about today because it's kind of deep. But what I kind of do is simplify that into these three zones. So I have this like fear zone down the bottom, and then above it is the courage zone where you're actually taking action. So fear zone is kind of inaction. I'm stuck. I'm feeling small. I'm kind of closing up. And courage is the action zone. And then there's this kind of vibrant zone where life is just, beautiful. And that doesn't mean there's no fear up there. It means you're just living and you're a high energy person in terms of action and gratitude and love and joy, and you're tuned into all the amazing things out there. But so I kind of use these three zones as my principle. But what I definitely find with talking to your point of kind of getting started, when you step into courage and start taking action. So let's take like your goals and New Year's resolutions is your classic. And we have an idea of doing something good at the start of the year, and we step into it and we take a little bit of action, hopefully. And then by week 2, of course, like everything is pretty much faded away. But it's because of that fear pullback. So I kind of describe this roller coaster between the zones of taking courage, but then you get pulled back again by so many things. And that's what I kind of teach and call the cage. So your cage is often the great thing about the cage is it's all inside you, and it's your own kind of pullbacks and self-sabotage. But it's usually really tricky to figure out at first, and that's the biggest challenge, because we assume that the cage is actually everything that's going wrong outside in the world. The world is holding us back, or someone did us wrong, someone was mean to us, and we assume, we blame external things, but really this whole cage is inside us. And when you can unlock that, then you can actually move forward.
It's good and it's bad because our ego I think our ego is a lot stronger than any forces out there. So it's
absolutely
bad in that sense, but it's good because that means we can control it.
Yeah, well, I mean, to your points of step by step, what's the first stage? And the first stage for me is always self-awareness of discovering. So you talk about the ego being a scary thing and a powerful thing, and totally. So my first step would be, okay, what can you observe and be aware of? Because most of us are not aware. We're so busy either in the past or the future. And if we get back to the now as much as possible, which is really hard because we're all over the place, distracted by phones and social media technology. But if we can get that self-awareness to see, even what we're feeling without any judgment. So all of our insecurities, all of our failures, all of our pullbacks, all of our fears, our judgments of others and ourselves. Like if we can be aware of this, even if we don't figure out how to solve it at first, just writing a list or keeping track in a journal of what you're feeling, I think that's the first stage, because then you have the keys to see what's going on truly with you, and you can start to move out of it after that.
Okay, that's good. Self-awareness, that's key. That's step 1. So you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you are right now. So, you brought up resolutions, and at the time of this recording, it's January, but it probably won't go out in January. But so would you say are goals and resolutions, how effective are they? Are they effective?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, because I've been digging into that a lot the last couple of weeks. I think they're a great thing. Like at one point, I was kind of thinking goals as more of a bad thing, but no, I think they're really, really powerful. I think we're just missing the other pieces of the jigsaw that are more important. And what I consider a lot more important than a goal is the habits, the powerful habits that have to be so tiny, because, you know, in a whole week, we might think about this goal that we want to achieve, but it's in the future. It's not right now. So it's the things that are happening right now in this very day, like after this podcast. You know, what am I going to do with the rest of my day? Do I have any intention and any habits of what I want to do? Have I written them out somewhere where I can kind of see them? And then most of us kind of go through our day. We do our work, and then we kind of float around and work out what we want to do, you know, what we want to have for dinner, and make it up on the fly, and then, you know, do a little exercise, and then watch some Netflix. But it's funny how you can turn like a day without intention to a day with intention, and those two be incredibly different in terms of power towards heading to your goals. So I think the goals are essential, yes, but only as a compass of where you want to head. I don't think you have to be attached to them to be, you know, that's not your happiness out there when you achieve your goal. Your happiness is your habits and how you show up every single day, what kind of energy you have. Whether you achieve your goal or not, it probably doesn't even matter. It's the as they always say, you know, the journey towards it.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you brought up habits because something I was doing without really knowing I was doing it is just a small little goal for me. I want to get a German Shepherd puppy one day, but I have an 18-month-old, so no rush because right now it's crazy.
Absolutely.
And I'm not a walker.
Yep.
I don't walk. And so I knew if I got a puppy is going to grow into a dog, and I would have to walk it every day or pay somebody to do it. And so I made this goal. Well, my goal was I need to establish walking habits. And then once the habit is accomplished, then I can bring a dog into our life, because it's probably not going to happen if I just brought the dog here and then don't have a habit of walking established, because that dog's not going to get walked. Who are we kidding here? So I love what you said about habits, tiny habits, just and then you can build on them, right?
Yes, yeah, tiny habits are like I always go on and on about this. And there's a really good book called Atomic Habits. I think it's by James Clear. And I know many friends have read that, and it's been incredibly powerful for them as well. Have you read that, Aprille?
Yes, I read it.
So good.
Yeah, I read it twice.
Nice. Yeah, it talks about how to get rid of bad habits as well, which is another huge piece, obviously. And yeah, the tiny habits, someone was describing it as try and think of something that is so small that it's 2 minutes in like a bite-sized piece, 2 minutes minimum. So if you want to go out for your walk, obviously your walk is going to be longer than 2 minutes if you go, hopefully. But the most difficult piece is that 2 minutes of actually getting out there and walking for 2 minutes. Like you're allowed to, after 2 minutes, come back in, and you achieved that little tiny habit. But of course, when you get started, things flow and you just keep going, usually most of the time. But if you think of them as these tiny, tiny achievable steps, then the really powerful thing I find about that is, even if you, like most of us screw up and we don't follow our goals and our New Year's resolutions, and then we end up beating ourselves up. But with tiny habits, if you don't do your little habit for the day, my rule is always get back on the horse the next day. So by having the tiny habits, they're super easy to jump back on the horse the next day and get going again. You don't beat yourself up, really.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think one of the reasons I haven't started to do those tiny habits is because for me, it's probably still a big habit just to start walking. So I like even breaking that down further. to even, I don't know, maybe putting my shoes by the front door.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. In
Yeah.
Atomic Habits, they talk about stacking your habits. It's really interesting as well. So you do one, and then that leads on to another one, and they connect together in your kind of conscious and your programming.
Yeah. Now, so what do you have to say for any one of us? Because I know I'm one that has tried to establish a habit. I'm good for 3, 4, 5 days, like even posting on social media daily, just trying to stay consistent. And maybe you can help me with this on this YouTube channel. Like, yeah. And not meeting the goal or like breaking that consistency, feeling
Yeah.
like we fail. And I know if I felt like I failed, it's done. It's done. And it might take me 1, 2, or 3 weeks to get back on that horse again to try again. Like, what is that?
Yeah, it's so hard, and I think we all do that. We all beat ourselves up if something goes wrong because, like you say, our ego. I think there's something deeper and underlying behind that we all go through. Like I do too, all the time, and I think it's attached to our ego of needing to impress ourselves, needing to impress others, needing to be a certain value. So and like I said earlier, if we're so attached to things, I think that's the key. Is if we can try and detach to these future goals and things that we have to achieve to feel important. Like I'm okay with failing a goal now. Like I'll write out so many goals and I'll fail a whole bunch, and as long as I've taken steps towards them, I'm totally fine with that. But yeah, we totally beat ourselves up. But I think there's more of a underlying reason why we do that, just to kind of feel valued, and it's something we need to gradually release the attachment to needing that end goal to be happy and fulfilled.
Yeah, so detachment is something, I'm glad you said that too. It's something that I advise my clients or students or whoever I'm talking to, like detach yourself from the result, detach yourself from the goal, and just do the steps. But I find it hard to follow my own advice.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's your secret? Like, what are you doing to help you detach from that particular result that you want to go and just kind of focus on the day to day or the minute by minute?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things. Like, firstly, I always try to set an intention for the next day of what I want to achieve, and like we talked about earlier, breaking it down into the tiniest achievable steps. So when they're super achievable, even if you're not really feeling motivated or you're beating yourself up, you can still jump on a 2-minute size achievable task. And if you really don't, just take the day off and wait till you feel a little better and do it the next day. But also when I was talking about kind of the underlying ego of if there's a pattern that keeps coming back of you not kind of following through with the consistency of your steps, then go back to the self-awareness and really start digging in of, maybe there's an underlying fear that is blocking us from taking action, because usually it's for all of us, including me. But the difference is when you can start to see the pattern of why you're not doing the consistency, then it becomes huge.
Okay, so maybe like
Facing the
identifying.
sun out of my window here, it's crazy. There we go. That's better.
So yeah, you brought up a good point. So maybe identifying those triggers, is trigger the right word? Identifying those, I don't know, whatever, triggers, actions, anchors that kind of make us fall off. Identifying them and then eliminating them when and if we can.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think triggers is a really good way. So I talked about the 3 zones earlier, and I do a lot of kind of visualizations in some of my courses around this of this fear zone, which is the red zone of like our ego zone, you could say, or our inaction zone, any name. And as you keep kind of feeding in the negativity and the triggers, it could be things like, first thing I do in the morning is pick up my phone and I look at the news. And the news is very filtered to be very negative and impactful headlines, and then filled with marketing as well. And marketing is kind of fear driven, right? So we end up kind of I have this visualization where you're building up your red zone. And for most of us, it's always going to be there, and we have to feel through the negatives that come up for us. But I think when it gets to be a problem and it kind of stops your action is when your red zone has grown so much that you're very sensitive to failure. So you then try and take action, but your red zone stuff, your ego stuff, your blocks and your triggers are so big that it just pulls you back down again. It's really hard to get out of that. But you can. I've seen people that literally flip the switch on everything, like trauma, like crazy childhood trauma, and they're able to go through one event that flipped the script of the fear and the anxiety and everything. But I think my big thing is called letting go. So there's an amazing book called Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins. And that's all about letting go of each layer of things like fear, anger, even things like desire, which we assume, I want something amazing. We assume that would be such a powerful and a good thing. But that desire can actually be a huge negative for you, because again, you're putting your happiness in the future of I have to have this. There's a really good quote, but I've forgotten what it was. But it was something about desire is like a contract with yourself that I'm not going to be happy until I've got something in the future. So it's really interesting how we think these things are good, but they can actually kind of self-sabotage us.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, that was a good point. It's like, this is something I'm after. I don't have it now, so I'm bummed. I mean, like, I guess when you think about it.
Yep.
Yeah. So, oh man. So this has been awesome. So
that's super fun.
If we want to get more support, how do we work with you? How do we get in contact with you?
Yeah, so my website's www.achieveanydream.com, which is great because it used to be GoalFire app. I think that one's still out there, but now it's kind of transitioned from the app to this whole platform that I'm trying to build called Achieve Any Dream.
Nice.
That's the best place to reach me. And my email and everything is on there.
Perfect. I love it. Awesome. Thank you. And then where can we follow you on social media? Like if somebody wanted to just reach out to you right quick.
Yeah. My Instagram is Achieve Any Dream. It's the same thing.
Okay.
And then I forgot on the website is a link to the course that I'm creating right now. And that's called Achieve Any Dream, like a 30-day course. So actually a lot of the things we talked about today, I'm filming kind of all those pieces and of everything. It's really a powerful reflection of everything that I've gone through, including the lowest of the lows and how I got through them. And I just, once many of us have been through all these crazy situations in life, I think that's what makes life beautiful. And the most beautiful part is then when we can share it with other people and then help other people get through those situations, maybe quicker than we did, right?
Scroll below this video in the description. We're going to have all of Dave links in there. So be sure to reach out to him, check out his website. And if you need additional support, please reach out to this awesome man and everything that he's achieved. I have no doubt he'll be able to help you.